Martin, are we headed towards anarchy?
I'll answer that in a minute. Two things. I forgot to mention to people here that there's a free book if you want it. It's called Not Important. It's downloadable from my Patreon site. You don't have to sign anything or do anything. You just go and download it. If you do want it, I'd suggest that you get it fairly quickly because I'm going to take it down in probably a few weeks' time. No, it's free. It's about 70 or 80 pages long. The second thing, and this is relevant to anarchy actually, is that there are people around who are stealing my identity effectively. We've just found one on Facebook, Philosophy with Martin Butler. They've even used my photograph. And they're stealing all the content I produce that's available. So anyway, Philosophy with Martin Butler, my photograph on the thing is not me. They've got 11,000 followers. My Facebook, and I've only done Facebook recently, has got 200. So I couldn't care less in a way. My wife is more concerned about it than me. But just be aware that there are fraudsters out there who are stealing my identity. I never expected so much interest in this. Anyway, are we headed toward anarchy? It depends who the we is. Some nations, no, but Europe and the United States, possibly. So anarchy is, well, it's kind of like the main ingredient in establishing tyrants. You can't establish a tyrannical regime unless you have anarchy as the as the starting point in the whole thing. So there are currents in Europe. They're different to the United States, but you know, one of them is mixing of different traditions. You know, there's nothing wrong with one tradition or another tradition or whatever. We just shouldn't mix them. It's as simple as that. The mixing leads to misunderstandings and suspicion and resentment. So we shouldn't really mix traditions. In Europe, we have gone crazy with it in the last 10 years. Very large numbers of people from different traditions have flooded into Europe, and now the Europeans are feeling threatened. And so we are moving towards a kind of anarchy. I mean, the best example probably is France. It's very near to anarchy all the time, is France, but you know, it's even more near to it now. In the United States, there's generally confusion. The traditional ways of earning a living are disappearing. The mixture of different races and traditions is, you know, or can be a little bit problematical, probably less than in Europe in truth. And there's a loss of identity going on in both Europe and the United States. These are very, very good ingredients for anarchy. And in the United States, there are forces at play that would want anarchy so that they can establish a tyranny. The same in Europe. There are forces almost encouraging the anarchy, the resentment, the hatred, and all the rest of it, so that they can come to the rescue as some kind of tyrannical movement or tyrannical force. You know, you only have to look at, I saw this the other day, the breakdown of traditional ways of earning money in the United States, for example. This is affecting people's lives, as you might expect. And the the life expectancy of someone living in, and I can't remember whether it was Mississippi or Missouri, but anyway, one of those states, is less than the life expectancy of someone in Bangladesh. So bad is the breakdown of society. And in Europe, in the United Kingdom, over a third of young people in a certain age group are unemployed. They can't find work. So yes, we're heading towards anarchy. This, of course, brings in what is usually labeled as the right wing, although I'm not entirely sure what that means. But they're people who are leveraging on the idea that we can go back to the past, and we probably can't. Anyway, a lot of the world is already under tyrannical leadership. I don't need to name names. But, here's the thing. The world and societies swing between tyranny and anarchy. So a tyrannical regime will sooner or later break down into anarchy. And then we'll get another new regime that is tyrannical. It's just the way it works. If you want to understand it, read John Gray. He treats all of this in detail in his book called Black Mass. It's a frightening book, but he does write frightening books. I talked about him on the last video, the author of Straw Dogs. Anyway, parts of the world are playing with, that's probably the best way to put it, anarchy. Certainly the United States and countries in Europe. Other countries in the world are already governed by a tyrannical leader or force. And sooner or later they will break down and fall into a state of anarchy. And that's just the way it is. And if you are in neither of those states, then you're very lucky. You're just in a quiet period, effectively, as we have been in a lot of Europe and the United States, but it's changing.